And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, 106 in the afternoon on this sun-splashed Friday, 80 degrees, a light southwest breeze. This is going to go down as one of the top 10 days of the summer.
It's going down in the record books, baby.
I don't know about record books, but it's
going in the record books for a nicest day of the year.
It's definitely
in my book
one of the best days because we've got light winds, plenty of sunshine, a few fair weather clouds mixed in to give you a little bit of shade. Gorgeous day, low humidity, you can't beat it. Hopefully everybody is out at the pool, lakes, enjoying today because the weekend holds more clouds. Not a lot of rain. Not a lot of rain, but
sun ain't going anywhere. It's still going to be up in the sky somewhere. Maybe behind the clouds, but it ain't going anywhere.
And it's quiet.
It's awkwardless.
Nice.
Dean's not having
what you got,
apparently.
guys?
It's okay, Dean. It's a Friday, man.
It is Friday.
You are like officially 53 minutes away from leaving.
You'll be lucky if I stay the whole
You're
show.
lucky if I get you for the next 50.
You'll be lucky if I finish this show. It's so nice out.
You got a golf off at about 1:30 or something?
Something like that. Actually, it's about 2, so I might skate out at 1:45.
Wow, look at that.
Bridgette, how are you doing?
It's okay,
Dandy.
Bridgette.
How is the Flag Day events there at the office?
Great.
People still have time to get there in this hour.
We got till 2 o'clock. Free lunch for first responders, for veterans. We got a couple of food trucks out there. Sandy's Donuts. It's a good crowd out here. It's which is fantastic. It's all of our veterans, first responders. They all do a great job and help us out. And we'd like to give something back on this Flag Day. So it's a good crowd. Stuff for the kids. Got bounce houses for the kids. So get out.
You guys were in there, weren't you?
Justin was.
I'm not going to say I didn't.
Just checking.
Yeah. It holds my weight. I think you should be okay, Dean. You should go crawl in there, man.
Are you calling me fat?
No, I'm just
You said it
saying
should hold my weight.
It should. I'm saying you're a little heavier than I am.
And, Bridgette, it's a good thing you're not in the office today. So the boss sends out a memo at midnight last night. Who's checking their work email at midnight?
I was.
Says you can wear your shorts to work. Well, if you're wondering why we're wearing sunglasses here, it's because Storm here has shorts on, and those things are whiter than Casper. Like Steve should have put a little note on there: no shorts allowed if you haven't been out in the sun since 2 years ago. So
you hear this guy right now?
You hear him? It is so bright in here with Justin's legs. It is bright.
Oh man, this is worse than that SpongeBob cartoon where it says, "Oh my eyes, my eyes."
It's like that.
It's like that.
It's like that.
We're gonna build a whole deck just around Bridgette Sounders.
The things she says when she shouldn't. Oh, it's right there. I just thought I'd give you the wind sound effects. I'm here to help.
Arr, matey.
We're building a collection.
Thank you. So it does beg the question. Today, there's finally no wind. There are sprayers out everywhere they can possibly be in the field.
Oh, I bet.
Are we going to have much wind over the weekend? I mean, should I make sure everybody's doing all that they can
get
today?
it done today. Yeah, get it done today. No doubt. Yeah, we've got today's, like I said, picture perfect days. We'll top out in the mid-80s today with those south winds, only about 5 to 15. Tonight, we'll see the clouds. We'll see the clouds sticking up this evening, and we'll probably see a round of showers and thunder showers after 9 o'clock tonight with lows in the mid-60s. Those showers and thunder showers continue into Saturday morning, then push into Lakes Country. I think we'll see the rain shut off here by lunchtime in the valley westward, but I think that continues a little longer into Lakes Country. So if you have any plans out the lake tomorrow, probably not the best day, but we're not expecting a lot of rain out of this. But it will be windy tomorrow. Those winds out of the south up to 30. And then for Father's Day, it does get a little better. We'll see a little more sunshine, and it should be a pretty much dry day for the most part with highs in the mid-80s on Father's Day. So not a bad weekend, a little more wind than obviously today. And if we could have this today all weekend, it would be, that's called San Diego. So sorry. We can't have everything.
Oh.
We can't have everything.
Most of it, at least.
We can try.
You know
Oh,
what? No,
did I
I like
mention
to
I
be
might
greedy.
be? Oh, and I actually have San Diego on my calendar for July. So if that works out, you guys, I'll just let you know how the weather is from there when
Oh,
I
that's
go.
perfect.
Bottle it up, send it home.
Mid upper 70s, maybe a little
Yeah,
breeze off the ocean. Oh,
there you go.
have you been there?
Perfect.
Have you been to San Diego, Bridget?
I was there last year, and that's why I couldn't get back in time to be at Hefty's Ag's PhD, Ag PhD field day because remember they dumped me at the airport in Denver on a layover, and I had to drive back. I couldn't get a flight back out of Denver after that.
There's
It
a
was rough.
there's a place on there. I don't. They don't call it the boardwalk. What do they call it down there?
Wharf.
No. It's a collection of bars and restaurants, and there's a Mexican place there that has the best margarita.
Main Street.
I'll find out the name of that place because I know you'll love it.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so with this fine weather, let's remember kids are out of school. They're hanging around out in the farmyards. They might be working with their show calves for the fair this summer. They might want to be riding on equipment. And keep in mind, safety still counts. A lot of farmers are putting their kids in more high visibility gear. So whether it's shirts or even little safety vests so that you can always see where the kids are at. Especially if you have an operation where you anticipate a lot of equipment coming in and out of the yard, you want to make sure you know where everybody is at all times. So it's not a bad thing to think about those bright colors so that they stand out when kids are out and about in the yard and even when they're with the livestock. We have unfortunately had about 4 youth deaths since December due to farm accidents, and we don't want to see any more happen. Also, while you're out there, it's time to put on the sunscreen. Hope you guys did too today. In fact, I lived through the days I was on the tail end of the baby oil craze, and then we learned to use things like SPS 5 because that was going to make a difference. So now we're all better about it. Dean and I had this chat yesterday in the office. I have a number of ranchers who like to wear long sleeves year round because it keeps the sun off their skin. And so it protects their skin, keeps them cooler. Just a few of the things that we can do for good safety around the farm here for the next few months during the summer.
Right. I'll vouch. It only takes a couple hours to get a bad sunburn.
Couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for you, it'd
Yeah,
probably
not
take
even-
15
It
minutes.
takes like 20 minutes.
For you, I said a bad sunburn.
You know how many times I've been burnt?
Like I said, it takes you 10 minutes to get color out there.
The amount of times I have been burnt, it no longer hurts to get a sunburn. That's how many times I have been burnt to where sunburns, I do not feel them anymore.
That's healthy.
It's great. I don't feel it. It doesn't hurt. Burn me once, shame on me. Burn me twice. I can't burn me again.
So you're not the brightest redhead in the bunch now, are you?
Boy,
over
that's
Justin?
there.
Now
Ding,
watch
ding,
this
ding, ding,
drive.
ding, 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 ding. How about that sound effect?
I don't have a ding, ding, ding.
Jay does. There we go.
Good. I'm just going to mute myself. Anywho,
heard the
teachers
same
are
thing.
also out. Teachers are also out for summer.
Jesus.
Some of them are going back to school next week. Next week, there will be classes at NDSU, Feeding and Fueling the World. That'll be hosted by the North Dakota soybean growers. What they are doing there is giving the opportunity for teachers, especially who are involved in sciences at the junior high and high school level, to get a lot of hands-on testing and work with soil and water quality, also exploring biotech, and they're even going to make some biofuels in the classroom. This is a 2-day workshop. It's very interactive, and at the end, all the participants will go home with $300 worth of supplies for their classroom use. So, way to go, teachers. Way to spend a little extra time fine-tuning their skills before they take them back to their students this fall. Already thinking ahead to next year, and it's still June.
You always got to be. Always got to plan ahead.
You do.
You never know what's going
always
to
gotta
happen next.
Well, as a teacher, there's a lot of things that can come up that you want to be prepared for and make sure that you get new and exciting items in the classroom for your students. So hopefully some of the videos that we've done, whether last year for soybeans or this year with corn, get used in the classroom to help answer questions for teachers as well. And a thanks to sponsors like Pivot Bio. They bring to light a product that can be used not only in corn, but also in wheat that takes nitrogen from the air, as well as with their active bacteria underground, and they can provide more nitrogen for a corn plant. So Pivot Bio could be on someone's field this year, and including the fact that it's going to be on our cornfield north of Glendon. These warm days are certainly going to help us push our corn crop upward and onward, and I'm excited to see how it looks next week. Hopefully it looks really great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it's doing, and hopefully it's got a good leg up compared to the surrounding area since it got a couple I think it was in a couple weeks before a lot of the rest of the area wasn't it, Bridgette?
It was. Maybe it has a brace root up instead. A little bit better for it than a leg.
Indeed. Hey, you want to be a part of the program today? Ask some questions. Join in on the fun. Give us a call. 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoe line. Again, that's 701-293-9000. Or you can send us an email, weather or ag, at flagfamily.com, and comment boxes there available each and every single day on the live streams on Facebook, YouTube Live, as well as Acres TV. We got some fun things coming up on the program, and one of that's going to be our guest from Northern Pulse Growers Association. And Bridgette, maybe you could give us a little tease of what Shannon does before we have Shannon tell us what exactly she does.
Shannon Berndt's going to join us in studio today. And as you said, Justin, she is with the Northern Pulse Growers Association. Here's the fun thing. Folks are probably asking, what's a pulse? What do you mean we grow a pulse? And it's not just the one that's at your wrist.
Yeah,
so Shannon's going to visit. he's getting a little shaky because he's not on the golf course. Shannon's going to visit with us with
water he's drinking.
Yeah, we want to talk about peas, and not just the ones that end up in your frozen vegetable mix, but also where peas go that are raised here in North Dakota, as well as lentils. So I think she's going to have a number of items for us to learn. I think it'll be a fairly entertaining conversation. So again, fire up those questions. You can be sending us emails, ag or weather, at flagfamily.com. You will find me on X if you want to send me messages there at BM Readel. And of course, call us on the Red Wing Shoe line, 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. We'll talk about peas and more with Shannon Berndt, Northern Pulse Growers Association. Arr, matey. Welcome back. Do you have a building project on your horizon this summer? Well, if so, make sure that you have a conversation with Foltz Buildings. Foltz is part of our Here We Grow project, where we are custom farming 20 acres of corn north of Glendon, Minnesota. And all of their buildings are constructed by experienced crews that are professional and courteous. They are ready to visit with you. Why would you choose Foltz? Your vision, their expertise, and they're going to build something exceptional that you're looking for. So much appreciate all of their help. And I also very much appreciate that we're joined in studio today by Shannon Berndt. Shannon is with the Northern Pulse Growers Association. Shannon, I hope you got to have lunch on your way into the studio today. I speculate there was a lot of action in the parking lot.
Yes, there actually was. So I made sure I arrived extra early just so I could find that parking spot. So.
Right. And Jen, you can get right up on that and bend it down just a little bit.
Yeah, we want to
just
hear
so
you.
Yeah, there we go. That should
Right
be good.
there. So, all right, Shannon, I know you and I have talked. I know who you are, but there's a number of our listeners who say, what's a pulse? And what's a pulse grower? And it has nothing to do with your heart rate. So let's just start with the basics right there.
Okay, I'm the executive director for the Northern Pulse Growers Association, and we represent Montana and North Dakota producers, and those are producers of dry peas, lentils, chickpeas. Pulses have been around for basically centuries. I mean, there's history that shows that they've been found, in tombs from many, many years ago. The crop itself is new to the area, or relatively new as comparison to some of the other commodities. But we certainly have been an up and coming in the last several years with all the increase in protein needs around the world. So,
when you think about pulses grown in the U.S., but particularly in this region, are they a fairly new crop? I mean, we talk about them from ancient times, but does that mean we've been growing them in Montana or North Dakota in a long-term state as well?
You know, there were producers that were growing pulses in the early 80s, 90s. Research centers, NDSU in particular, had done quite a bit of work on pulses in the 90s. But it wasn't until the late 90s that actually the organizations came about. And in 2008 is actually when we first formed the Northern Pulse Growers Association, and that was a joint venture between Montana and North Dakota producers. So they work really well with the environment in the area. They're a great rotational crop for, other commodities as well. So.
Okay, work well in our environment. That really leads right into, what do they need? If you're going to be raising peas or lentils, chickpeas, we don't see them in the eastern third of North Dakota. Why is that? Are they heavy water users, low water users? Just let's talk about some of the background of that crop production, if we could, please.
Low water users, and typically what they say is pulses don't like wet feet. So there's a lot of disease issues that can come with that. Of course, the varieties have changed over the years, and we're seeing more and more of the crop, head towards the eastern part. Actually, we've had some Minnesota growers. The acreage has expanded into South Dakota and Nebraska as well. So as varieties and genetics have changed, we've actually been able to see some of that crop, the acreage move as well.
I love the fact that, like you said, they're maybe a lower water user, which explains why they're headed out west. But if I'm going to plant my peas in the garden, I'm probably going to want to plant them early. They tend to like cooler weather. What happens in a commercial field? Is it the same basis that I would be doing in my garden, or would I be handling those a little bit differently?
Nope, exactly the same. They are an early seeded, cool season crop. Typically, you don't like to see the flowering happening during the hottest months of the summertime. So, that works well with rotation with producers in the area, and the fact that, it's early seeded, they can move on into other crops. The same with the harvest, you would be harvesting them earlier on. So they work well in a farming operation because of that.
How about tolerance to cold? I would imagine if you can get them in sooner, they're a little more tolerant to colder soil temperatures, early, or I guess you would say late frosts or light freezes.
Yes, and that has actually been a good test over the last couple years because there were folks that were planting them extremely early. It was more than just drought in that area, so they were trying to get every little bit of soil moisture they possibly could. So they planted them super early, and then of course the frost came along, and we were able to see that they were tolerant to a certain amount of frost. But there are also research being done on winter seeded pulses. That's been in the works for several years. So I think when you look at Montana's environment, North Dakota's environment, certainly something like that would be, well suited for this region.
I see. And would this be more of a single yield crop, or is this something up here? I'm trying to guess what I'm getting at is the length of time for maturity on these plants. Is this kind of a once per year crop, or would you be able to maybe on a good year get 2 yields out of this crop, or double plant?
Potentially, you could if you were looking at doing maybe some grazing, that type of thing. But these are a one season seeded crop. And also you want to look at what the rotations are. Certainly, planting pulses on pulses is not a good idea, just due to the fact that it does increase that incidence of disease in the soil. So it is important to look at what your rotations are.
I see. I guess that kind of leads into as well, in general with pulses, what are the main concerns when it comes to these types of plants? Is it more of a disease issue, a fungus? Are there pests that just kind of wreak havoc on these crops? What's the threat level look like on these?
There's certainly issues when you look at disease. If you're not looking at a crop rotation, of course, you can deal with that by choosing your fields, doing rotation, those types of things. Also, as far as weeds, there's not a lot of
Herbicides.
correct, not a lot of tools in the toolbox for that. So, really, again, you're looking at making sure your seed's clean, you're choosing your fields correctly, that type of thing, because you're trying to get the density and the canopy to try to choke off some of those weeds before they get a good start. Interestingly enough, the last couple years, we have had significant issues with grasshoppers in Montana and North Dakota. So we're working on, how to get producers out there to scout, but to scout early, because once they passed, a certain stage, they're much more difficult to control at that point.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because with grasshoppers, they're easy to control when they're a half-inch or smaller, and the half-inch size is called a nymph. Once they get larger than that, just what Shannon said, they will chew on anything, and that's reminiscent to your great-grandparents saying, "Oh, they ate the wooden fence posts out in the pasture," because they did. They would eat the paint off a building. So Shannon's exactly right. Pests, that you really don't have a lot of tools to combat that in peas. It's going to be a big problem for a lot of growers. So Shannon, we have lots more questions, not necessarily agronomy wise, but what are we going to do with those peas after we harvest them? So when we come back, I'd really like to start that discussion, because I think it's going to be surprising what we do with these crops, and what's a little bit of the difference between the peas, the lentils, the chickpeas. Dean's probably just thinking he's going to call some girl that a chickpea now, but we'll figure out if that's the right term or not. So.
Hello, chickpea.
Hello,
what are you
little
doing
chickpea.
later?
All right. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. Stay tuned. We want to find out what happens with these pulse crops after we raise them here in North Dakota.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag. Bridgette's looking like, hey guys, all right, who's going to start this segment? So,
I just like
Already?
to let the awkwardness grow at this point.
I think we should have let Addison. We should have let Addison open.
You see, Addison, what you should have done is you should have pulled the 4 screens up and watched everyone's face just kind of cringe and be like, who's going?
I should have done that. I've told you before, I have large amounts of fun like when everyone's on the vid call and I can see all of your screens together, but none of you can see each other. Because when you guys all come back from break and no one's discussed who should open, you all make the same face. Like you all get that awkward smile and you all open your mouth a little bit. You're all ready to fire,
jump
but
into
no
the
one
gun.
will do it. It's very funny.
Oh, man. So, Shannon, a couple of email questions that came in. And one was, this started out kind of small. How is this expanding now across the United States?
It is really, I think, taken off because there's a lot more of the processing opportunities there. We've seen a lot on the value-added side. So that has really, a crop that was majorly exported to now see some increase in domestic markets as well. I think that has really, piqued the interest of a lot of growers.
What about it is some of the, you said that there's been more use for it and whatnot in demand. I'm imagining that there's got to be some value to growing this as well, because if there wasn't some substantial value to it, why would you go out of your way to pick this to farm? But what along those lines do you think is added to that additional use or demand for it?
Certainly prices play a significant part in this, but I think growers, they're really starting to realize the agronomic benefits of growing pulses. They fix their own nitrogen, so they're not taking up nitrogen from following crops. Mm-hmm. They actually help increase yields. We've seen research where up to 20% even on wheat. So, I think it's adding to that soil health. It's just helping in all of those areas.
And what would be a good crop or crops that would follow in a rotation with these? What would come next after that, and then what would you maybe finish on or you would use before you threw the pulses in?
Right. Typically you see like a cereal grain, and then I know a lot of our producers have been looking at canola as well. So you see a really good rotation between those 3 crops, and then you can rotate usually back into another type of pulse. So.
Okay.
And Shannon, what do we do with these after harvesting?
It used to be that they were exported mostly as a whole crop, and that's the way that they were used. We have seen much more inroads in the ingredient market, so now we're seeing them going into flour, starches, all of those. Being in Fargo this week, NDSU has had a tremendous hand in helping our industry to move forward on that ingredient side, particularly Northern Crops Institute. Some of the first work that was ever done there way back in the early 2000s was done at Northern Crops Institute utilizing flowers. And now that is, pretty much industry known. I mean, is a one of the beginning products that was there. So
Nice.
Okay, so pea flours, you were saying, and chickpea flour. I'm going to jump to the conclusion right away as a replacement for folks who have gluten intolerances. But where else? I've heard the rumor that peas are high in protein, and so we see them in a lot of protein shakes, that type of thing. I mean, where am I going to find that where I would least expect it?
yes, you're exactly right on the protein side, in those areas of, where you have health and nutrition, but we've also seen it as a replacement for egg protein. So as you have individuals that maybe are challenged with diet restrictions, this then again offers another option. So a lot of times it's not about replacing so much as it can be an inclusion to make that product then that much healthier. You're adding in more nutrients and vitamins, minerals, that type of thing that might make an existing product healthier.
So when I think about not only the protein shakes, but say like granola bars, that type of thing, will I find all three in there, the peas, the chickpeas, and the lentils, or primarily peas?
Primarily peas, but I think that's because most of the work early work has centered on fractionating peas. We're just kind of getting into doing more work on the lentil side. And plus, when you look at chickpeas, they're a high value crop, so they might be somewhat cost prohibited to use in some of those particular products, depending upon what market share they're looking at. If they're looking at going into a fitness, health and fitness type market, that typically can get more of a high cost, or they're more expensive than your typical granola bar that's going to be on the shelves that you give to the kids after school every day. So that's, yeah.
Right. We're not giving moms very high dollar protein bars to the kids like a fruit snack after school. Fair statement. You guys might be my children, but you're not quite worth the $4 bar. I'm giving you the 99 center. It's okay. It's all about economics, and I'm willing to call this out. So, chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans, correct?
Yes.
Where's a primary market for chickpeas, garbanzo beans? Where do you see most of those being sold?
So interestingly enough, this was several years back, but we did a lot of export, of course, of chickpeas, and then all of a sudden, we saw a lot more that was staying stateside, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So after our national council did a little bit more digging into the market side of it, they realized that the fastest growing snack food segment was hummus. And so the vast majority of those chickpeas were staying within the U.S. because it was going into that snack food market. So, as you see trends change a lot of times, then you're going to see more, of those types of products staying in the States.
I will say that I buy hummus as well. So, okay, I'm willing to follow that trend. It's all right.
Yeah.
I could even make my own, but I'm not Molly Yay, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy mine prepackaged somewhere. Thank you.
Favorite type of hummus?
The one with the the roasted red pepper stuff on it.
Red
like
pepper
that.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah, you need a little heat to go along with that.
I think you do. Shannon, what do you think the future is when it comes to pulses? We've seen what's happened over the last few years and what it's going. Do you think that demand is going to be sustainable, or do you think we're going to continue to see a growth in this type of crop, or what are your thoughts on it?
I absolutely see continued growth, and mostly because, the world is growing. We need more sources of protein, and it's not about what type of protein, whether it's livestock protein or plant-based protein, because there's some areas that livestock protein, some markets that just won't go into. It's not about taking away market share, but it's really that there's going to be room for all types of protein to play a part. And so I really think, as you see household incomes change around the world, that's going to offer up, opportunities as well. So.
And Shannon, is this something that can be fed to livestock?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Part of our issue there has always been, 20% inclusion rate gives the best, success rate. We have ranchers in Wyoming who have been feeding it for 15 years and refuse to do anything else. But the problem is we have so short of of product at this point, to talk to livestock producers about, including that in 20% ration, and they change the rations, and then you realize that, I guess we can't get you anymore crop, so it's kind of meeting
horrible.
that demand, but it's kind of meeting that demand at some point,
Is it a little more expensive feed, or is it better for the livestock?
No, and it actually is better for the livestock. It doesn't have any of the tryptophans. I know it also, they've used it in pelleting. It actually has a really good binder capability. So, so there's certainly, opportunities for it to be a good source of feed as well. And interestingly enough, Carrington Research Extension Center had done research for us years ago. They showed actually that after feeding livestock ration that included at least 20%, the end meat product was actually more tender. And so they were trying to replicate that study again. They had done that study again, and there's still folks that, swear by that. But it has to do, I believe, and I'm not a rancher, but it has to do with like hang time and how the muscle atrophies after that type of thing. So,
right. How about anything when it comes to breeding or trying to put different traits into the crop? Is there any research or breeding being done to try and go a specific route with these pulses?
Absolutely. We are very fortunate that North Dakota State University has been very supportive of our industry. So has the North Dakota legislature. They actually funded us starting a breeding program at NDSU. I believe this would be its 8th year now. We are starting to see some varieties come to fruition. And so what they're looking for is, things that can help combat those diseases and, perhaps be more resistant to weeds. So they're looking at benefits to producers, but also, protein, quality, that type of thing, so that it will fit the end-use customer as well.
I see. Cool. I got a caller here on one of our lines on the shoe, or Red Wing shoe line. Tom, thanks for calling. You got a question for Shannon?
Well, actually, not a question, but just a quick comment or a boost or however you want to compliment.
Sure.
Pea protein is sought after in the chickens that are not fed soy or corn, but they take longer to grow, but the chicken meat tastes better, and it's great for people like myself who cannot eat soy or GMO soy for sure, and corn. So a lot of the chickens, say from Minnesota, get their feed from Luxembourg Feeds, and it's a pea protein base, and the chicken is delicious. So I just wanted to say, you're right. She's right. There just isn't enough people that grow enough peas for enough livestock.
I appreciate
That's
the
awesome.
comment, Tom. Thanks for calling and
Hey,
listening.
Tom, is Tom still with us?
He is.
Tom,
Maybe.
can you what kind of chicken? Can you give out the name brand?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know the species of the chicken, but it's
Gotcha.
a meat chicken.
Okay.
It's the meat chicken, and I'm sorry I'm on a speakerphone because I'm driving.
Gotcha.
That's
No
okay.
problem. No problem.
Problem at all. Thanks for calling and listening, Tom.
I wanted to find out. Where to get that chicken.
It's the kinds that go cluck.
Yeah. Thanks.
No problem, man.
Thanks,
Well, you
Gene.
asked him what kind of chichts. They're the
What
ones that
brand?
go cluck.
You're a genius.
So one thing with peas that is different from most crops, as someone who's walked fields, when you try to walk into a pea field after it's knee high, it's so intertwined with all of the little tendrils on the peas. You can shake what's in front of you as a pea, and literally a half acre around you will move. So it's a really cool crop. The way it will grow up onto each other with its stalk strength and so forth. It's been pretty neat. And I'm sure Shannon's been in lots of pea fields as well over her years with the pulse growers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never really thought about it that way. I grow peas in my backyard. I mean, they'll grow 6-7 feet tall. I mean, they're pulled peas, but it's something similar, I'm guessing, where they all just intertwine with each other.
Yes.
So how do you harvest that?
Well, I know that sometimes you hear that would be some of the complaints, obviously, that we have. But, the genetics and the variety side, again, they're working at, what works best for producers. So maybe it's standability. You certainly don't want something that gets too heavy that'll lay over because then it's hard for them to pick it up when they're combining. So as long as they can get that clearance underneath, I think for the most part, they're good to go. Now, also, you'll see in the pulse industry that the vast majority is no-till. So, that then in itself, you have a lot of the matter that's left, in the field as well for, winter snow retention, that type of thing. So
Cool.
Yeah. You'll have plant material left over. One nice thing, like you said, with no-till is the fact that peas don't like wet feet. And so if we were to try to plant them here on the eastern side of the state, we'd run into heavy Fargo clays, and that would not be great for the peas production and also disease pressure because it'd be so wet over here. So a couple of things to follow up there. Shannon, thank you for joining us today to talk about the pulses. I really appreciate your
for the
time.
opportunity. I really appreciate it. And it's great to hear from Tom. So
Yeah.
So if people want to look up more about your organization, where can they do that?
Our website is northernpulse.com. Our office is located in Bismarck, and we are on all forms of social media. So please, follow us on social media. I can certainly get out information on producers as well as health and nutrition information. So
Cool. And that's Northern Pulse, correct?
Yep, northernpulse.com.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in here.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks.
All right, folks, hang around. We got to check the weather because it's going to be a great weekend for Father's Day. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for rejoining
Some
us.
of us.
Yes, some of us. I guess someone wasn't kidding when they said, I'm going to dip out early. Mr. Slacker himself, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm still here.
Well, yeah, Addison's still here.
Thanks, Addison.
Yeah, we appreciate you. You stick around for the whole show.
Well, sometimes I show up a little late, but
Well, I mean, you're still here before the show starts.
hopefully.
Maybe by like a minute, but
That's a minute of prep to get the streams up and running.
yeah, and Dean just took off a whole 10 minutes early. But you know what? It's a nice day out there, and we'll run down the forecast coming up here in just a bit. I got a couple open lines if you want to join in on our conversation today. Ask some questions. 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing shoe line, or emails weather or ag at flagfamily.com, as well as Bridgette's personal phone, which gets a lot of action from what I'm told.
There's a lot of people who want to send messages and ask questions. And
Indeed there are.
ever so glad to help, because that's where, one of our listeners actually in Iowa just messaged me and said, I'm so glad you asked what pulse crops is, because I didn't know. Well, look at that. We solved
had
a
no
problem for
idea.
someone right there.
Yeah,
Those are
I
good
was
things.
like, what in the world? Speaking of crops and pulses, whatnot, you got any peas in your garden there, Bridgette?
I do, and they're just coming up because I was late planted versus most everybody else around here. So I'm just waiting for mine to be more than a little neck sticking up out of the ground.
You're ahead of me when it comes to peas because, I got in, I guess, on time. I was hoping to get in early, but I'm glad I didn't because we did have that late frost, although I don't even think we had frost in Grand Forks. But it was cold enough to where I was a little nervous. I forgot to put the beans and the peas in because I usually just start them by seed because they're so fast to grow anyways. I don't start them indoors ahead of time. And I waited and I forgot. And I was like, oh, man, I just planted them last weekend or on Monday, I think. So they're like 4, maybe 5 days in the dirt. Sorry,
Shannon Sarah Soil. Shannon mentioned peas like to be planted early. And so if you talk to longtime gardeners, they will mention that one of their favorite things to do is plant peas. I saw folks putting them in the ground back at the end of April into March in order to get that really advanced pea crop. Peas, whether it's our garden peas or field peas, don't like heat stress on them. And so now as we're having, we had a day this week that was 90 degrees. If your peas are up and climbing, then they could have aborted some blossoms, which is what leads to the pods because of that heat. Also, for you home gardeners out there, little tip, I tend to put up a fence to make sure that the peas can climb up the fence so that they're, 1, easier to pick, 2, they stay off the ground. So when you get rain, you don't get disease on the peas and on the leaves. And then also the pods are just easier to get to. They're less chance of disease. Sometimes they'll get a little sunburned if they're facing the west, but a fence can be really helpful in your garden.
Yep. So I'm just waiting for mine to pop up, and then I'm going to put my fence up along them. Did my garden a little differently this year. I like it, but at the same time, I don't know if I like it because I don't know if I got my beans and my peas in an optimal spot, but it made logistical sense to put them there. But now I'm just kind of like, well...
There's always next year.
That's a true Minnesota sports fan. There's always next year.
There's also Nebraska. Go Cornhuskers.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
those Huskers. Go Big Red.
Just feel free to send the hate mail. I'll take it. It's
Ronnie.
fine.
I'm surprised how many Husker fans there are up here.
Well,
I know it's close, but there's a lot of other teams that are close and closer, but it's Huskers. Just kind of surprised.
They all moved up here, got out of that state, and brought the Husker part of them with them.
I guess so.
It's okay.
I want to do a quick rundown on the forecast here. We'll knock this out of the way, let you know what to expect for the rest of this afternoon. Sunny skies, a few building cumulus clouds out there for this afternoon. Temperatures right now are sitting at 80 degrees, and we'll top out in the low to mid 80s. Clouds will start to roll in, though, before this evening and throughout this late evening, mainly, let's say, after 8 o'clock or so. We may start to see a couple isolated scattered showers, a thunder shower push into the valley, and that'll become a little more widespread scattered showers throughout tonight as we drop down to lows into the mid-60s, southeast winds 10 to 20. And for tomorrow morning, a few isolated showers, then it looks to be partly cloudy for your Saturday afternoon. I can't rule out a pop-up shower in the day, but it does look dry. Low to mid-80s, south winds 15 to 30, so it'll be a little windy. Another round of showers and storms overnight Saturday, but exiting Sunday morning, revealing another partly cloudy day. Again, I can't rule out a hit or miss shower, but as a whole, Sunday afternoon looks dry with temperatures in the mid-80s. Another chance for storms Sunday night into Monday, and as for next week, it looks cooler, it looks wet. Jay Thomas Show's coming up next, guys. Have a great rest of your day and a beautiful weekend.